Okay. Good evening. My name is Epifania Adames. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for Interculture. My name is Epifania Adames. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for Neighborhood Association for Intercultural Affairs, NAICA. We are an organization that provides legal services and financial assistance to tenants at risk of eviction. We have been providing eviction prevention intervention since 1974. We are here today to speak about the ERAP program, and we are honored to have Councilmember Salamanca here to speak about this new program that we're working with. We are also here with Marlon Valereso, and the Executive Director of the Legal Department, and Charlene Del Rio to assist us to explain further about this program.
All right. Well, thank you for introducing me. I am Councilman Rafael Salamanca. I represent the 17th Council District here in the South Bronx. And I want to thank NAICA for putting this important event together. As many of you know, when COVID hit almost 18, 19 months ago, many individuals, hundreds and thousands of individuals of New Yorkers were furloughed or were laid off, which put a strain on these families. As we know, many New Yorkers were living check by check, and being furloughed, having to go on unemployment was an extreme strain on them. Schools were immediately remote learning took effect, which put a strain on families where they would depend on their children to get an education, but also they would depend on their children to get their breakfast or lunch in school, which put a strain on families now having to provide food for their families throughout the entire day. And so many families had to make different choices, whether they pay rent, whether they put food on the table, whether they pay for healthcare or pay for other expenses at home. And it put an extreme strain on these families. And so as time went by, we had loss in our families, we had loss within our communities. There was all the other expenses that we incurred, funeral expenses or medical expenses that came in. And to be quite frank, many families could not pay for rent. They had a difficult time, paying their obligations monthly. There was a rent moratorium that was put in place where landlords could no longer evict families for the inability to pay rent. And I know that recently this rent moratorium was expiring, and there was a decision by the court in terms of there being an expiration date. I know that so as a result, the federal government came up with a program in terms of the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which is called the ERAP program. And it covered families making 80% of the AMI or below. And we know that many families in the city of New York are making more than 80% of the AMIs. And so therefore the state of New York created a state-funded program for households making between 80 and 120% of the AMI. Now, this program may be difficult to navigate. And as a result, the state reached out to local partners, to local stakeholders, to local not-for-profits that can help us navigate this program. They will assist you in applying, assist you in terms of if you qualify. And basically at the end of the day, what we want to do is that we want to avoid evictions when the moratorium ends. And so I am proud to be here with NAICA. They are a local partner, and they're a local stakeholder, assisting individuals with different programs, whether it's homelessness or other programs, getting services that we need so that we can remain in our apartments. And today is one of many of these forums or workshops that they're hosting. And I know that this is such an important topic that I will, stop talking and I will hand it over to NAICA so that we can get straight to it. And thank you for the opportunity to be part of this forum.
Thank you so much, Councilman Salamanca. We really appreciate being invited to speak. Yes, as the councilman stated, ERAP was expanded recently. So 125 million was allocated for people who earn between 80 and 120% AMI. That actually commenced today. So as of today, you can submit your applications. I just want to make sure everybody's aware. There was an additional 125 million allocated for those landlords who had also uncooperative tenants, tenants who didn't want to apply for ERAP, or tenants who have vacated owing arrears. They will be getting their own designated OTA portal. We've been told that it should be ready soon, but it's not available yet. So with the additional funds, just be aware that for the tenants, you can apply as of today if you make above the 80 AMI and under the 120 AMI. And for landlords, the portal should be open soon. We've been assured by OTA. So that way, as soon as it's ready, we will be making that, part of our presentation to let landlords know how they would apply on a separate portal, because that, contrary to ERAP, which is a two-step application where the tenant fills out one side and the landlord the other, this new portal will be for only landlords. So I just want to make it clear that that is going to be in the works. Also, the moratorium. As Councilman Salamanca stated, the moratorium was extended recently on September 6th or 3rd, I believe, to January 15th, 2022. But in order to receive those protections, you must fill out a hardship declaration. The hardship declarations can be found on the New York Court's website. The old form is still in effect. So if you previously filled one out, you're protected. If you only have a copy of the old form, you can fill that one out. Make sure you send it to the court. And I have put the information on how to send it to the court via email in the chat. Also, make sure that you are aware that the landlord can challenge it. So they had to update it to create due process steps. So now if you do submit a hardship declaration, the landlord can challenge this and request a hearing and put the case in court to see what the hardship that you suffered is. But it doesn't mean I think people should stop submitting them. If you suffered a hardship, please make sure you submit that to your landlord, to the court. Make sure that you're contacting a legal service provider if you are in court. NAICA is one of the many that are in the Bronx that will assist you with free legal representation if you're a low-income tenant in the Bronx. Also, as far as ERAP, we also are a provider. So I do always encourage people reach out to us for assistance. So who is ERAP for? As we stated, they have opened some of the income limits. So for now, just think if you're under the 120 AMI, I'm going to apply for ERAP. If you owe arrears, apply for ERAP. If you owe arrears and utilities, you can apply for ERAP as well as utility arrears assistance, but you cannot apply for utilities arrears assistance only. For that, you would be able to do an application, a one-shot deal with HRA, but this is in conjunction with rent arrears. So just make sure that you're aware of that. Also, you do not qualify if you're a homeowner, but you do qualify if you are renting a co-op or condo, but not the owner of the co-op or condo. So just make sure you make that distinction as well, because many co-ops are being rented out. So you would qualify, but not if you're the actual owner. As I stated, regular ERAP is a two-step process. So the tenants are required to do a portion and the landlord the other. I'm going to say this now, if you start the application, because I think I forgot it at a previous point, make sure that the first page, you start this application and you save it, that you take a picture, write down with pen and paper, the application number. That is very important that you maintain this application number for ERAP, and you will see why as we keep discussing it. ERAP will pay about 12 months of rent arrears, as well as anything prospective, 3 months prospective, but you have to request that. So in the application, it'll ask you, would you want 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months of prospective rent to be paid? And you would check off what you feel is appropriate. And if you are paying more than 30% of your gross income towards rent, you may be approved for this additional support. Also, you are not required to pay it back, but if there is fraud found during the investigation of the application, that you may have to pay it back. So just make sure you're very truthful when you're submitting this application. And as well for the utility arrears, all payments, whether it's for ERAP or utility arrears, will go directly to either the utility provider or to the landlord. So as I stated, they'll go directly to them, and both the tenant and the landlord will be sent an award notice. Even if you're denied ERAP, you will receive a notice, and on said notice, you will have information on how to do an appeal. So don't feel like, oh, I got denied, it's over. No, there will be steps on how to do the appeals process, just so you're aware. Right now, ERAP, like I said, is estimated to run for 17 months or until the funds are depleted, finished. But like I said, we don't know a specific time frame. So I'm showing you the 80 AMI, but just be aware that now it has been updated to the 120 AMI, which for a family of one is about someone earning 100,320. So this definitely increases the lot of people that can apply for this program. And this was done because they were finding that people were applying for ERAP who were above 80 AMI and had legitimate hardships and needed the assistance. So OTDA said, no, we need to expand this program. And because the federal money was specifically allotted for only those earning under 80 AMI, this is why they had to create a state fund for, it's called a hardship ERAP fund. So that is why that these funds are now available as of today for those who need them. To prove your income eligibility, you're just either going to submit your 2020 W-2s, your 1040 forms, if you have your pay stubs. I've also had clients who are like, I literally have no income. They can do a self-attestation, which we will have notarized if they're doing it in person, or they can have it notarized before they submit it, and that in order to state that they have absolutely no income. So if they have unemployment, SSI, all these are forms of income, and they would have to submit the proof of it for everyone in the household, except for 18-year-olds who are full-time students in college. They do not have to submit their income eligibility. So exactly what I was stating, you just have to make sure that all income is available for all household members. Citizenship, just so we make that clear, status is not a requirement. So you do not have to be a citizen in order to apply. I have put in the chat the public charge hotline for anyone who is not a citizen and still has questions regarding applying for ERAP as far as will it affect their citizenship application. I know those are legitimate concerns, so I encourage everyone, please call the public charge hotline and just follow up with them to make sure that what you're doing, from what I've determined, I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I want everyone to have peace of mind. So before you apply, please call the public charge hotline. Okay, so when you go to apply, you can either do the application on your own, which we through this portal, which is the New York Rent Help.otda.ny.gov website, or you can come to a provider such as NAICA, who we are one of 2 providers in the Bronx that assist. And you can call us, you can email us, and we will assist you in submitting and creating the application. But if you feel that you're tech savvy and you can do it, by all means, take a picture of this little link, and then that way you can go and do it on your own. Also on the NAICA website, there is an ERAP link where it says apply here. So you can go to our website as well, and you can apply, you can click the link and it'll go directly to this application page. Now, if you can do it on your own, this is why I want to give you some application information. Like I stated, the first thing that they're going to ask you is about your information, your specific applicant information, your name, who you are, if you're the tenant of record. They're going to ask you your gender, your email address, your phone number. If you have a social, you say yes or no. It's not necessary to have a social security number. They're going to ask you for your form of ID. Only the applicant is going to be required to submit their ID. When you have to upload your documents to OTDA, everyone else will not. They're going to ask you what primary language. That's very important. What do you want to receive your notifications in, what language? So if you feel like you're only conversational English, you may want to put Spanish, so that way you make sure you're fully informed when you receive notices. I've had clients call us like, I don't understand the notice I received. So if you make sure you put your primary language and what it is, and what language you want to receive your notices in. It will ask you if you're renting, and if you're renting, is it a lease? Is it a month to month? Is it a SRO? And you'll have to explain all this. It's not necessary to have the actual lease, but you need something that shows that you are renting this apartment or room, and how much the monthly rent is and how much is owed. So I've had people who just come in with the rent receipt. The rent receipt from the landlord, often in most receipts, will show the monthly rent as well as the arrears that are owed to date. And I tell everybody, come with the information, or have it ready, the information that shows what you owe to date. They're going to ask you for your, like I said, employment status, any information regarding your income. They will ask you what your hardship is. So for some, it was reduction in income, For some, it was reduced hours. I've had people who, like I said, were furloughed or fired, or you have just increased expenses. I had a lot of parents who told me they weren't provided laptops by the school and had to invest in them, or didn't have internet access and had to unfortunately pay for internet now because their kids were being homeschooled. I had people who had to buy PPE, things like gloves and masks that you never had to purchase previously in your life had to be purchased. These were all increased expenses or medical expenses that you had to incur because of COVID. All this can be put into the hardship form. So basically, you'll just let them know if you also have been unemployed for the last 90 days, if you're a veteran, if you're a domestic violence victim. So read through the list, and any of these, if they apply to you, especially if you're facing an eviction, you should let them know so that way you can be, your application can be seen, and we can also know. And our side, we want to know if you have an index number, because that's something that we have to inform the court that you are applying or have applied for ERAP. It is very important that we let the court know that you've applied for ERAP. It will put the court case into an ERAP stay, which means that nothing can be done in your case until a determination is made. So if you have an index number, you must let us, any provider know, or let OTDA know. Additionally, as I stated before, we are legal service providers. So at the same time, if you need legal services assistance, we can make a referral to our legal department, which I'm the executive director of, in order to get you an attorney on that case. Then it will ask you questions regarding your household members. It'll ask you the same information that was asked about the applicant, your income, where you live, your gender, your date of birth. So make sure that you have all the information available when you start the application. So when you start the application, you can either create an account, and I encourage people, if you have an email address, create an account, because at that point you can start your application, save it, and resume it at a later time if you run into difficulties. If you do not create an account, you must be prepared to start and finish this application in one sitting. That means it may take you about an hour to complete, or maybe less, depending on how fast you can go through the questions. And if you have all the documentation prepared regarding everyone's date of birth, their socials, their the lease information, the income information for everyone, and your Con Ed or utility bill, you can kind of zip through the application. But if you're missing information and have to stop in order to retrieve the information, and the site either crashes or you lose it, you know, by accident you get signed out, then you have to start the application all over again. So I encourage people, have all your documentation ready, or create an account, so that way you do not have to worry about the tragic loss of an application and having to start a brand new application, which has happened to every single one of my staff. So please be prepared. So like I said, all this information has to be available, especially the socials, the date of birth, if there are any socials, their ethnicity, just have it all available. The income information for family members. So all these are questions that you would have to go through. I'm just going to skim through them because pretty much it's the same questions that you had to review on your part will be for your family members as well. It will also ask you how people are paid and what income and what, like if they're renting or if they're your roommate. It would also ask you if you have any subsidies. So example, even if you live in a Section 8, you have Section 8, or you live in public housing, or you have FEPS or city FEPS, you can still apply for ERAP, but you're only going to apply for your portion that you owe. So example, your monthly rent is $1,200, but your FEPS portion is only $200. You cannot apply for rent arrears on the $1,200 a month. You can only apply on the $200 that is your monthly portion that is owed. And remember, make sure that it also has to be money owed to the landlord of record. I've had people who are roommates saying, well, I owe money, I'm doing this application because I owe money to my roommate. And when I ask, has the roommate, the tenant of record, been paying the money to the landlord? They state yes, they owe nothing to the landlord. They can't apply for ERAP. So unfortunately, those people have a difficulty because now they're saying, but I owe my roommate money. But unfortunately, ERAP has to be rent owed to the landlord. So it's been a difficult problem because I know there are people out there who have roommates. So unfortunately, if the tenant of record is paying the roommate's portion to the landlord, you cannot apply for ERAP. But I want to make sure you know that if you have a subsidy, you should be able to apply for ERAP as long as you're only applying for your subsidy portion. So yet again, you have to have the information regarding the landlord. And that is because, like I stated earlier, it's a two-step application. So that means the tenant fills out their portion, the landlord fills out their portion. So if the OTDA does not have the landlord's information, their name, their email or phone number or contact information, they won't be able to contact the landlord to submit their portion of the ERAP application. So it's not your responsibility as a tenant to inform your landlord, I did my application, please do yours. It's the responsibility of OTDA. So if you don't give them this information, they can't do it. I would still encourage tenants, if you are in a good relationship with your landlord and you would like to let them know, I did the ERAP application, here's my application number, that's fine. But it isn't your responsibility. That lies on ERAP, OTDA. So that's why I tell people, just make sure you have your current landlord information, their address, their phone number, email address, if possible. I'm just going to show you what it looks like when we are submitting a request for the rent arrears. So basically you would put month by month what rent is owed. First, what is the actual rent, and then what rent is owed. As I said previously, some people have subsidies, so they don't owe the whole rent, or maybe your rent is $1,200 and you were only capable of paying $500. So you would put $700 as the difference owed each month. Okay, and then on this line, you would put any late or legal fees that are being added to your account. You're going to make sure that if anybody's assisting you with money in the household, that you'll let the state know. You'll let them know if you need assistance with utilities. Like I stated, please make sure you have your current utility bill. I've had a lot of people say, yes, I owe like $700 in Con Ed and not have the account, not have the bill with them. And they've had to stop to call their provider just to get the most recent information and the account number. So just make sure you have that information available so you can get assistance. And then it's the same thing. It's a breakdown for the utility and how we fill it out, how much is billed each month and how much is past due. So the same thing, you may be charged $100 monthly from Con Ed, but we've been paying $50. So you would just put the amount that's still remaining owed. They will also ask you if you got any other assistance. So example, let's say you owed 12 months, but 1 month was paid by Coalition for the Homeless because you made an application with them. That should be told to OTDA so they're aware that they don't have to assist you all 12 months because at least some portion of it was paid by either HRA or another charitable organization. Or like I said, a subsidy is also paying a portion of your rent. They need to know that. Here's where you'll tell them if you have another subsidy. And when other, that's when we put usually city FEPS or FEPS. They'll ask you, like I said, if you got any previous rent assistance. So also, people out there also get DRE and SCREE, which are programs to freeze the rent. You must make them aware of that as well, because example, your rent is legally $1,200, but it's frozen at $1,100 because you have a DRE application approved. You just need to let them be aware of that. Okay, here's where I was stating about communication preferences. You must let them know how you want your communication to be sent to you. Do you want it by email, text, or regular mail? I've had a lot of my elderly tenants who say they just want a regular mail because they still aren't, computer savvy to get emails or text. So that might be the format you want, and make sure you let them know your language of choice. Because like I said, if you're conversational English, but you want to make sure you get it in a language you can fully read and understand the information in. It will also ask you if you require an interpreter, if you need alternate formats such as Braille or audio files or data formats or large print. Now the certification, I wanted to see if Charlene can go over the certification for a minute.
Hi. Okay, so when doing the ERAP application, when you're nearing towards the end, it's going to be the last page, whether you're doing it yourself or an organization is assisting you. The applicant certification, if you're doing it yourself, you're going to read through it, make sure you fully understand what you're attesting to. The application can be changed to any language that you're doing the actual application in. It can be English, Spanish, the language of your choice. It's about a lengthy certification, about 8 paragraphs. It's just attesting that all the information that you are providing is true and you consent it to be the most to your knowledge. The application, when doing it, you're going to read through it, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and it's going to say yes or no. It'll be two little bubbles. Yes, you attest to it that everything is true and you agree and you will submit, or no. Now, after you press in yes, you're going to go ahead, type in your name, and then you're going to go ahead and submit and save it. Make sure what you're not doing is just reading it and not saving it. A lot of people do this, and when this happens, what will happen is you will not capture the date that you did the application. So when you go back and you go to check application status, it'll give you a confirmation number, but it will not give you a date. If that happens, it basically means your application still doesn't exist and is kind of in a limbo. You need to go back and submit it by pressing yes or no and saving it. Now, you did an application, you have an application confirmation number, but you notice you don't have a date. What can you do? You can call OTDA, and you can actually give them your confirmation number. You can give them your date of birth, and they can troubleshoot you with you. If you actually did this application with an organization like NAICA, you can call them and they can troubleshoot with you. They can call OTDA on a conference call with you. If you registered, which we highly recommend for you to register with a username and a password, you can actually be able to go back in and correct this. So once you've done that correction, you're able to save it. You will now see that when you go to check application status, you're going to be able to see your confirmation number with an actual date of submission. Very important. So, you know, people who are actually doing these applications with organizations such as, you know, in the Bronx, we have NAICA and Bronx Works. In other boroughs, you have other contracted agencies. They actually can do the application, the entire application with you over the phone. And when it comes to the certification part, again, we can three-way OTDA. Again, they have many languages, and they can actually translate the applicant certification in the language of your choice so that you thoroughly understand, you know, what you're submitting. And after that, they can actually right on the spot confirm if everything has been submitted correctly. So it's a little bit of a safety net that way. And you will see you'll have a confirmation number, which is your golden ticket to say that you have successfully submitted this application. And if you are per se in court, you can submit that to the court, and that is then added onto their ERAP calendar. And you know, you can just wait until you get a response. So once again, the applicant certification is very important. Make sure you go ahead and submit it by answering yes, writing your name down, and then going on to the next part, which is the applicant document upload.
And I'll go into document upload. So I have two different clients. I have the ones who can do the entire application on their own, but then when it comes to the point where it's document upload, they're like, I don't understand. And it's mainly because, and I'll give you the reason, they require specific formats and specific file size. So I've had applicants who are trying to submit and it keeps getting rejected and they're just frustrated. They can call or email NAICA and we will do just the upload for you. So you have done all the application, you have your application number and you're ready, you think you're ready, but the upload is not working. You can contact NAICA or one of the other providers and we will do the upload for you. And it's pretty simple. We'll upload each document that you need to submit and we'll give you the confirmation numbers for each and every document. So example, if there's 5 birth certificates, each one will be uploaded separately and there will be a confirmation number given for each and every item. That way you have all your confirmations and you feel secure that if anything occurs, you can always reach out to OTDA and say, here's my confirmation numbers, here's my application number, please assist me. And like she said, troubleshoot. When you do upload the document, and then the other client is able to do it on their own. And basically you would just go to the website, it'll say tenant uploads, and you'll need your application number, your date of birth, and you'll be uploading it. You'll know how to create the file size and the format that's correct for OTDA, and you'll be able to submit it on your own. Just make sure you're writing down each and every confirmation number as I stated, so that way when you're done, you have like maybe a little piece of paper, or I tell everybody take pictures of each confirmation number and your application number, so you know what day and time and everything that you submitted it. It's great to be just like thorough, so that way if anything happens, you can always troubleshoot, like she said, with OTDA hotline. And I always tell people, it's not your responsibility to notify them when you completed the application, but do it if you can. So it's supposed to be OTDA's responsibility to do that, but I want people to still be empowered to say, you know what, let me let them know that I did my portion, so that way at least they're aware. And landlords do have a responsibility, if you're in court, to let the court know that you also filled an ERAP application. So it's very important also to make sure that they're aware that you did ERAP. Like I said, those are required. We already had discussed some of the necessary items, which is social if you have one, your ID for the primary applicant, proof of rent, which is your rent receipt, your lease. I have small landlords, example like homeowners who are renting apartments, who wrote letters basically for the tenant and said, I'm the homeowner and this person has been residing in my private home in the second apartment for 2 years at a rate of this and currently owe me this amount. From there, they and then it was notarized, and that was given to show proof of the rent amount as well as the arrears. And then it's on the landlord now to submit their portion when their part of the application comes due, and basically verify all that information. But OTDA will accept those letters that are notarized, stating what the rent is and how much is owed. Yes, you wouldn't submit, like I said, your income information. You would submit like your lease. Also, I want to, and your your utility bill. I want to make sure that everybody's also aware that yes, ERAP is only for 12 months and 3 months prospective rent. But even if you owe 20 months of rent, you should apply for ERAP. We've had people say, well, I'm not applying because I owe like 40,000, and I'm not even kidding, 40,000. Well, apply for the months that you can apply for. You can. I've seen them getting approved. I've had clients getting approved and still have a very large balance. And once they get approved and they have that like approval letter, we can go to other agencies, especially if you're a NAICA client, or we can refer you to another agency if you're not a NAICA client, such as HRA or charitable organizations or home-based for city FEPs. I've had clients come and they still owe 3 months rent, even with the prospective. And we've said, okay, let's call Homebase. We emailed Homebase and said, this client needs help ASAP. They seem like they qualify for city FEPs. Can they be seen? And we've received responses like, yes, they have their approval. We send it to them. They're like, great. We know now what we would process the application for, and it's only for 3 months. So many of these other charitable organizations or HRA or even home bases for city FEPs and even FEPs are requiring that ERAP applications be done. And then once we have an approval or denial, then they allow the application for either a one-shot deal or an exception of policy or FEPs, city FEPs, etc., to be done. So please don't let that hold you back. If you feel like I have excessive arrears and it's not going to work for me, you can still apply. So I'm letting everybody know. And once we have that approval or denial, then we know, okay, now you can go forward with either a one-shot deal or you can do, and I'll give you an example. I have people who are co-op owners who are not qualified for ERAP, but told that they had to apply for ERAP in order to do the one-shot deal, even though they're not eligible as homeowners. But you know, we've even done applications for them just to assist them because we don't want these people losing their apartments. Also because NAICA is a provider, as well as some other agencies, and we'll put them on the screen. So if you need any assistance in any of the boroughs, like we did say in the Bronx, it's NAICA and Bronx Works. But I would definitely take down the information. We are assisting both landlords and tenants. So I just want to make that clear. We're equal opportunity helper. We will assist you. If you call or email us for assistance, we will get back to you. And we've had landlords in the office who have said, thank you so much. We didn't know where to go. We are a small landlord. We have, 3 units and our tenants owed rent and we didn't know how to do our portion. So they wanted to do their portion, but they had no knowledge of how to do it. And we've assisted them with how to upload their documents, how to do the application, their part of the application. So, we do assist both sides, and we do know that there is a need for even small landlords to get assistance. And just so everybody knows, small landlords are eligible to sign a hardship declaration for foreclosure and submit it to your mortgage lender. So That's also available. I'm going to put our information, our hotline information, which is 718-866-0038. If you need assistance with ERAP, or if you have even questions. I've had people just call our hotline just to ask eligibility questions because they don't want to call the OTDA hotline. You can also email us at NAICA@NAICANY.org for any questions, because sometimes you just like, I don't want to be on the phone, or you're at work and you might want to just send a quick email. Our hotline is open Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 to 5, Tuesday and Thursday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So therefore, if you are, at least we're trying to catch some hours. So if you're working Monday to Friday, you can call on a Saturday, or after 5 p.m. on Tuesday and Thursday. So we're trying to make it as, flexible, and that we're out there for everyone to assist them. I don't know if there's any questions yet, but I'm trying to see if there's any other troubleshooting things I should tell you. Charlene, do you have any other troubleshooting?
Well, not troubleshooting at this time, but I did want to bring some attention to people doing multiple applications, especially towards the beginning of when ERAP came out in June of 2021. A lot of people started an application and for whatever reason weren't able to finish it, needed to put it away to gather documents, or just were having glitches and weren't able to proceed. So what ended up happening is they would log off and then they would try to log back on at a different time, and found that that application number was no longer the same application number or valid. So they ended up with multiple applications, or an instance would do an application, work it out all the way toward the end, never fully submit it by clicking on the yes, I attest, and ending up with multiple applications. So if you find yourself, or if you can recall, applying a couple of times, doing this application 1 or 2 or 3 times, it is a good idea for you to call OTDA. Just to clarify, you give the current application number with your date of birth, and maybe the previous one that you had that but never finished, just to confirm with them, hey, I did this application twice, finished once, but I still have this other number. It helps them kind of merge them in the system. It brings it to their attention, which is very important, because when you start to get responses as whether you've been approved or denial, you might receive a denial response when in reality it's for an application that wasn't complete, and you can be approved for the application that was done second and submitted. So for your own benefit, definitely help OTDA out by bringing that up to their attention. And secondly, I did want to mention in regards to the tenants when they're submitting the documents as proof, when it comes to proof of income, during the pandemic, a good portion of people were on unemployment. And since then, it's come to our attention, unemployment has ended. For some people, it ended 2 months ago. For others, it just ended a week or 2 ago. If that is the case, you should still submit proof that you received unemployment during the pandemic. And then if your unemployment ended anywhere from one week to a month ago, you should then additionally submit a no income attestation letter, basically stating, I so-and-so reside at so-and-so address. I attest I was receiving unemployment until such date, and you write the date. However, I am no longer receiving unemployment as of this date. I still don't have income, although I am looking. You can sign your name and you can notarize it. It's important just so that when OTDA is overlooking these applications, they're kind of not in limbo. You're helping them. The more documentation you can submit on your behalf, the better outcome you will have, the less questions OTDA will have in regards to your application. So I just wanted to mention those 2 things.
You know what I forgot? I did not mention, when, let's say now you've submitted your application and you're thinking, so now what happens? So you can check on the OTDA website on the homepage under basically status check, and you will put in your application number as well as your date of birth, and it will show one of 4 responses. It will either say approved and paid, approved, not paid yet, under review, or denied. So that way there's another method to check the status. And we've even done it for some people who've called us on the hotline, like, please, can you just check for me? I don't know how to access the hotline. And if you have an account, you'll be able to enter your account and see the same thing as far as like what documents, if it's under review. Also, I know people had questions about the time frame. Yes, I understand completely that in June, people applied and didn't hear anything until now in September. That was because, and we've talked about it previously, there were staffing shortages on the application review as well as the hotline. And there were a lot of glitches when it first opened, like with any new portal or any new program, there were some issues. But Governor Hochul has basically, like in the last, since she's been in office, added additional staff to the staffing for OTDA for the application review and for the hotline, as well as basically sped up the application review. So to date, I believe 400 million has been paid and about 1.2 billion has been obligated, meaning that it's approved but not yet paid. That brought us from basically dead last in paying out money for ERAP to first in the country. So that's impressive how much it has increased and how much has changed over the course of like a few weeks. So I just want to let people know it should be it should speed up the process now that there's more staff reviewing it, as well as now we have a lot more feedback from both HRA and OTDA regarding if there's a glitch. Like they literally meet with us every Tuesday at 2 p.m. to discuss any issues that may be having with the site. We meet periodically with OTDA, our commissioner as well. We also have we're encouraged to email them daily to say, are there any issues? Have we had any problems with any of the representatives on the hotline? All this in an effort to troubleshoot any issues that people faced in the first 2 months. So I feel like now it's definitely sped up the time frame and the process. So I just want to encourage everybody, don't lose heart. Please apply. And like I said, there's 2 methods to protect your home and protect yourself from eviction. People have this idea that eviction or like the court is not open. It's open. We are in court daily. Yes, we're doing it virtually, but soon it will actually be back in person by the end of this month to the beginning of next month. As a matter of fact, I think our first in-person day is October 12th for NAICA. So I'm just letting you know it's ongoing, the court. So if you do not fill out a hardship declaration or you do not fill out your ERAP and you owe rent, you may be in danger still. So I'm letting everybody know, please fill out your hardship declaration, apply for ERAP. We can assist you. Our numbers and our email address is on the page. We want to assist you to get this done. Are there any questions, Epi? I know I've answered like so many.
Yes, there are 2 questions. One question reads, I live in a room and my landlady, who is the tenant of record, is received ERAP. However, she still is charging me for those months I couldn't pay her for my share. What can I do?
If I'm assuming this person applied for ERAP as the roommate, correct? For rent that was owed to the landlord.
Yes.
Remember, we've had people who can apply. Okay, example. There's a single room occupancy and there's 4 tenants. Each of them has their own obligation. So each of them, let's say, is responsible for $400 a month. Each of them can submit an ERAP application. So we just have to make sure that they submitted the ERAP just for themselves and that it wasn't maybe that she submitted one for herself. So this is a person that may want to call the hotline and email us so we can get more information just to verify that and what they're actually charging the person, because I don't want to say, oh yes, that's incorrect when I don't know the full story. So I encourage you to call the ERAP hotline. Also, anyone who has housing questions or legal questions regarding housing, please call the NAICA helpline, which is 718-538-4830. We did put it in the chat, but there we can get an attorney to either call you back, or if you leave a message with your contact information, we will have an attorney from our staff call you back and discuss your housing issue. Or if it's on our hotline scheduled day, they will be online all day long to answer questions. So please reach out to us as well if you have housing questions, because like I said, I'm not sure with that specific question how to answer it unless I know the logistics and extremely each case is sensitive, so I want to know all the information. So please reach out to us via the email if you can tomorrow, so that way I can get more information on it.
The other question is, my landlord is giving me a hard time to complete their part of the application. What can I do?
Charlene, do you want to discuss that? You want me to do it? I can do it. So basically, landlords, yes, it is a two-pronged application, but OTA has basically informed us that as long as the tenant does their entire portion, meaning they've uploaded all their documents, they've completed the entire application, it will be reviewed. And if it's found that they are able to approve it, it will be approved. At that point, OTA will hold the money for 180 days. And they'll let the landlord know, we have the money available. You know, you haven't complied with your portion. But what I encourage people to do the ERAP is because it still protects you. Regardless of if the landlord does their portion, it still protects you. You're not going to get evicted. So please just submit it. As long as OTA has the contact information for the landlord, they will continue to try and get this landlord to do their portion, but they will look at the application based on your submission as long as it's complete and all the documents have been uploaded. And if it's found to be approved, regardless of if the landlord did their portion, they will hold the money for that landlord.
So far, there are no more questions.
Okay.
If anyone has any question, please leave them on the chat and I will read them for the panelists to answer them.
I'm trying to think if there's any other hotlines we should discuss. Maybe you could discuss the Con Ed for a minute, Charlene.
Exactly. I wanted to bring that up, just draw some attention to it. So as you all know, when you're applying for ERAP, you can also apply for Con Ed arrears that have accrued during the pandemic time. Although you are applying for the Con Ed arrears with the ERAP application, you do have to understand that you will only get the Con Ed arrears will only get paid if you are approved for ERAP. So in the interim, I strongly agree that everyone contact Con Ed and let them know that they have experienced financial hardship. We did put in the number for the Con Ed disconnect. So if you have received a Con Edison disconnect, but you know you applied for ERAP and you included the Con Edison arrears, please do not wait. Go ahead and call Con Ed. You can call them at 1-800-752-6633 and just let them know I applied for ERAP. I am facing financial hardships due to COVID. I want to let you know, and they will not charge you penalties. They won't charge you late fees. At that time, they will assist you in any way they can to develop some type of payment plan. So just, you know, don't do anything. Don't ignore it. Go ahead and reach out to them and they can assist you. And at least it'll buy you some time where you can start making small payments in the interim that you're waiting for your ERAP response.
And that's very important because even with the approvals that have been paid out, we did ask last week if any monies have been paid out to the utility companies yet, and they said those have not been done yet because they were basically in the process of creating a system to get them direct pay to utility companies. So yes, please reach out to your utility company and let them know that you applied for ERAP and that you're facing a financial hardship so that you do not lose your Con Edison or your utility. Yeah. Are there any other questions?
Yes, someone said no one in my household has a social security card. Is that going to be an issue?
No, not at all. This particular program, when applying for ERAP, it's not based on whether you're a citizen. You don't need a social. You don't need a working social. Your legal status here does not matter. Anyone can apply. So we do encourage that you go forth and apply for the financial assistance. Like Marlon had said, if you're nervous because you're working on your steps to become a citizen, you can go ahead and call the public charge hotline. just for, clarity, for peace of mind, but it does not affect you in the sense of ERAP. You can continue to do the application. No socials needed.
And just so you're aware, the ERAP that we're discussing today is for the 5 boroughs. If you reside in, let's say, Yonkers, they have their own ERAP portal. So you would reach out. You can go on OTDA's website and you can find all the portals for the different ERAP programs. So please make sure. I know that some people, they may live in Westchester and say, oh, I want to apply. Unfortunately, this is for the 5 boroughs. So you would have, but they do have their own. New York State has there were certain regions that took care of creating their own ERAP portals. Are there any other questions?
No more questions.
Okay. Well, since we're closing up, I just want to, like I said, repeat that we are available at the ERAP hotline at NAICA at 718-866-0038 or via email at NAICAERAP@NAICANY.org. Our days, our availability on the hotline are on the screen: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 till 5, Tuesday and Thursday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I have been told that during the week, like sometimes during the 9 to 5 time, they can get very busy, the hotline. So you may want to call in the off hours at 8 a.m. or at 7 p.m., right before 7 p.m. or on a Saturday, just so that way you can get through quicker. But like I said, if you don't get through the first time, just keep trying, because I know it. Remember that a lot of people are interested in applying. So we have been assisting, especially a lot of the elderly or people who, like I said, are not as tech savvy as others to do these applications. And we're trying our hardest. Like I said, document uploads are very quick. We can do those uploads in matter of minutes often. So if that's all the assistance you need, you can still reach out to us and we'll assist you with that. And as I stated, there are other agencies in the other boroughs who will also assist you if you want to take a picture or copy down their number. So if you're in Staten Island, you can reach out to them or any other borough. And if there's no other questions, I hope that this was informative, that people understand the main thing. Like, since I am an attorney, I always am pushing. I don't want anybody evicted, people, and we don't know what's going to happen on January 15th, 2022. So please fill out your hardship forms, send them to the Bronx housing court or any of the housing courts. They've told me that they also have like drop-off boxes in front of the court to submit your hardship declarations, but you can also send them to Bronx hardship declaration at newyorkcourts.gov. If you have an attorney, we'll submit them for you. We just want to make sure everybody's protected so that you don't face an eviction. And as I said, they are requesting hearings if you do submit them and you're in court, some of the landlords. So that's when you reach out to one of us legal providers for assistance with that court case as well. So as I stated earlier, to call us for assistance, or if you want to process an intake, because you do have a index number right now in a court case, you can also reach us at 718-538-3344, extension 100 or 117, and we'll try and process an intake for you because we know you have a court case and one of our attorneys can assist you. But if there's no other questions, I just want to thank Councilman Salamanca's office for working with us to get this information out to the public. It's vital. It's necessary because we still finding people who are not applying. This week alone, we've been sending out letters to over 4,000 tenants and residents of the Bronx, just saying, hey, ERAP exists, please apply. We want to help you. So if you have family, friends, neighbors who you think might need the information, please let them know our contact information. Take a picture of it, share it with your family on your social media, so that way they can know the information and can get assistance from us as well. And I want to thank, like I said, Councilman Salamanca for having us today. We so appreciate you and everything that your office and you do for the residents of the Bronx.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending.
Have a very good night, everyone.
Good night. I think it's over.